The findings of our comprehensive, thorough, and independent investigation, coupled with the medical examiner's determination that Mr. Gray's death was a homicide, which we received today, has led us to believe that we have probable cause to file criminal charges.
The state of emergency in Baltimore is over. The National Guard is gone. A mayor's request for a Department of Justice investigation does not go unheard. But what about Baltimore's future? Does a return to normalcy mean a return to the status quo? And who's to blame for the festering of decades of repressed minorities? We've got a lot to talk about. Let's welcome to the Hardline first, former Chief Assistant U.S. Attorney in New York, now Senior Fellow at the National Review Institute, Andrew McCarthy. We're also joined by veteran political analyst, Newsmax contributor, and co-author of the book Power Grab, Dick Morris. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Good to be here, Ed.
Andrew, I'm going to start out with you in an article that you wrote entitled, Beware Baltimore's No Justice, No Peace Prosecutor. Looking at it from your opinion, what was announced, how quickly it was announced, is this more likely, again, in your opinion, to lead to acquittal than it would be to find someone guilty?
Yeah, I'm afraid that there's a chance here that you take a case that should be won, at least on a lesser theory than what they've charged, and by not only overcharging the case, I think very expansively.
What do you mean by overcharging the case, Andrew?
Well, you know, the thought that they've leveled a murder 2 charge here on a legal theory which is known as depraved heart murder. Now, the common example, just so people get a load of what kind of real evil intent we're talking about here, is the person who shoots a loaded gun into a crowd of people, heedless and not caring at all what the result of that is, and you know, death results. That's what depraved heart murder is about. And yet, in this case, you know, you have these police officers who, whatever wrong was done here, clearly were not trying to take this fellow's life.
Could we say, though, negligence, though?
Yeah, except here's the problem, Ed. Against the same officer that they charged depraved heart murder, they also charge negligent homicide, which means the conclusion is that the cop made some mistakes. Now, you know, maybe the cop made mistakes, or maybe you believe he's got a depraved heart, but it can't be both. And yet that's how they've charged it. And cases get lost by prosecutors when juries don't think the prosecutor has a handle on what happened.
All right. Now, Dick, let me bring you into this, too, because this becomes political. Andrew McCarthy has certainly said that he believes there's a political end to this as well, that certainly this was a rush to judgment. You know the inside of the Beltway and politics very well. Do you see this then as a political move in Baltimore?
I think you can't see it as anything but that. I mean, to announce literally in the middle of a rally or a demonstration that she's indicted these people gives the impression, at least, of a judicial lynch mob. I don't know what went on in there, and I don't know if the officers are guilty or innocent, but certainly the prosecutor did not exercise the kind of decorum or removal from street protests that would be inclined to inspire confidence.
Andrew, let's talk about that just a little bit with that confidence level here, because as you pointed out, the charges, as soon as the ME determined, were that Mr. Gray's death was a homicide. Isn't it fair to say, though, someone's got to pay here? This guy died in police custody, so maybe the charges aren't exactly what they should be legally, but someone's got to be brought to justice for this.
Well, look, if somebody gets into the police's custody and they're in decent shape, and they come out and they have a nearly, you know, severed spinal cord and die a week later, something terrible happened there. And obviously, you got to get to the bottom of that. But, you know, the street justice aspect that we're talking about here, every time death results does not mean that you have to have a murder prosecution as opposed to some other lesser form of prosecution.
Well, but certainly, though, when a guy's spine is severed, there are people believing that he didn't do that by accident or fall down. Somebody had to do that.
Right, but that's why you have a credible investigation, which I don't think has happened here. And to Dick's point, which I agree with, she not only made this announcement in the middle of this political rally, but she said that she had brought the charges because she's heard the calls from across the nation of no justice, no peace. Now, prosecutors live and their professional activity is about applying facts to law. You don't bring charges because people are demonstrating across the country. We have prosecutors to tune that out.
Dick, I've only got about 30 seconds left, but I want you to weigh in on this as well. Do you see anything here with the Department of Justice perhaps getting involved early on and saying, look, you got to put a clamp on this real fast. We need you to make this statement and at least start this process?
Well, it certainly is possible that they did that. What the important point about Andrew's comments, as I see it, is the law is finely gradated in terms of how it deals with situations like this, from one premeditation to another manslaughter while doing something bad, the guy got killed. And that's a very finely graded thing which the jury and the prosecutor will have to sort out. What the prosecutor has done is sort of made it, in effect, murder or nothing. And if the cop gets 10 years or 15 years for a lesser crime, people will scream that there's been an injustice.
That's a point we'll have to talk about as we move on. Dick, hang on tight. We're up against the clock here. Andrew McCarthy, we have to let you go. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to follow this case. Stay with us because Dick Morris will be right back on The Hard Line.